Hi Nadine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. Welcome back.
Thanks.
I was wondering at the very end of the previous session, you mentioned how there's this recurring metaphor in your life of you feeling like you're trapped in a closet
Mm-hmm.
with your demons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you would be interested in exploring that further today.
Maybe a little bit later on in the session,
Okay.
but I'm not ready to just get right into it. I know I really got into it last week. I was starting to feel really comfortable, but I'm just not ready yet.
Okay. It seemed like at that point you were getting a lot out of it, and that I thought that we were getting somewhere very fruitful.
I did too. I definitely felt more comfortable in the relationship, and it's strange for me because I am having such a problem with like the male population.
Hmm.
Um, so to be able to share those things, even in like the facet that I did, um, was really interesting. And I do apologize because during last week's session, I feel like I was a little bit erratic. I know I had taken an Adderall before and I just was kind of all over the place, but I mean, I've been doing it just to cope.
What do you mean by erratic?
I just felt like I came in and was just very hyper in my speech and, you know, like allowing myself to get out things that I don't normally. So I felt bad.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know that. Do you want me to give my spiel on how that affected the session or not, or is that not a concern for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I, I mean, I'm still taking Adderall to help me get through the day, but I feel like I'm a little bit more solemn today. I'm not sure if it's the weather or just
Hmm.
life in general. So, um, I mean, if you want to give your take on it, you certainly can.
Well, I was just in terms of whether it's a concern for you if you wanted to.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Because I don't want there to be, if something comes up and you want to say more about it,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that you feel satisfied or like you've covered what content or material like you want to cover.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Is there something then that comes to your mind that you'd like to talk about?
I'm just scared. I'm scared of like the what the future holds for me and um, what's expected of me. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be at. And I mean, the last session, I really left like feeling very shaken in my core because it's not something that I speak of often. Um, and I was just, it was really hard for me. Like, I felt like I was getting out a lot more than what I've ever done in my life. And so now I'm just worried, like, if my secrets do come out, what that will do.
It does sound very scary. And I want you to know that this is a safe space for you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to understand your state of mind.
Yeah. I guess in like the beginning of our sessions, obviously, like I'm having issues with the opposite gender, but I also was like had a fear of judgment, especially after sharing like the situation with my husband and him cheating on me with another man. I
Hmm.
wasn't sure how to take that because it's embarrassing to me. So to share it with somebody else just feels very raw.
What was it like when you did share it? You
Mm.
described it as raw.
Yeah, it felt like I was like there was a fire inside me, like burning from the inside out of my body. It's the best way that I could describe the feeling. It was hard. It felt like when I was like saying it out of my own like um, voice, my vocal cords, like it was just like a burning. Like you're sharing something so deep that you haven't shared with someone you don't even know. That's a man.
it sounds like you were taking a step that you were terrified to do so.
Yeah.
And afraid of how it would go down.
But I'm afraid of what will be if I don't share it with somebody. I'm certainly not going to share this situation with anybody in my community. So I need to do it with somebody. I can't keep all of this in. Again, like I'm starting to feel like that little girl that's in the closet, like we were talking about last week.
How did it feel then, right after you shared it with me?
Horrible. Scary. I mean, it's not even like I got into the depths of everything. Are we talking about last week, or are we talking about when I shared about my husband?
We shared about your husband.
I'm sorry. So how did it feel when I shared it with you?
Yeah, it sounds like it was, scary and that it was a big step for you.
It was. I mean, thankfully, like you're not in my community, but because I obviously wouldn't share then. But I'm just afraid of like the judgment that I'll get.
I think that it's important for us to keep in mind just what a big step that was for you to share that. Regardless of whether, as important as me not being a part of that community is in terms of your ability to, I don't want trust or confide in. Regardless, I think it was a huge step for you, and that I think just the courage and just willpower that it must have taken for you to share something like that with a stranger.
I mean, I can see it your way, but I also see it in like how small I feel because of the situation. I feel so small. I thought that I had this marriage of 20 years and that we were doing really well and we were raising our kids together and coexisting very well with one another. And then to find that out, to see that, I felt so small.
Small because
I felt like an ant that was going to be just like smashed because I didn't think this would ever be my life. That my life would come to like me sitting here with a therapist talking about everything in my life, or at least trying to share it, but it's just very hard for me. So it makes me feel very small. I don't have a voice.
that you don't have a voice in the therapeutic relationship,
No,
or
just in general.
okay. Are you, to clarify what you're saying? Are you saying that therapy? You think of entering therapy as a low point?
I wouldn't say that, but you were saying like how big of me was it to share something like that, where I feel like I'm so small and have no voice because of that. So it's just interesting to see the differences. Like I'm not seeing myself the way that you're seeing me.
Okay. How did it feel for you to hear that from me?
It was nice. I've never really heard kindness from a man.
Ever?
Not particularly. I mean, okay, so like on your wedding night, like your husband tells you how beautiful you are, yada yada yada. You look so pretty, and never was I ever told that like, I was smart enough or good enough, and I was top in my class, and I did all of these things to try and appease the men in my life, and never was I good enough. So it's hard for me to hear you say that because I don't know if I should take it as like it's true or if it's just feeding me. Because it's what you think I need to hear.
Would you like me to clarify that?
I mean, you can.
I mean, I'd like to, but I'm just, the important thing is, do you want to hear it?
I mean, whatever this is your thing.
I wasn't saying that just because I wasn't saying that purely because I thought that you needed to, well, I do think that you need to hear it, but I meant that from a place of like genuine admiration.
Thank you. I just have never had that from a man, so it's really difficult to take it.
Do you think hearing that from a man is going to, is it, this might be too early to tell, do you think it might have any lasting impact on,
Maybe I think that it's something that I need to be able to self-reflect on and really decide on if I can actually hear it. I don't know if I'm ready to hear it.
okay. I do think it's unfortunate though that you have felt very unappreciated by specifically men in your life, just people in your life,
Mhm.
despite your resume of accomplishments and just being what sounds like an incredible mom. You were saying how last session everything that you're doing, the motivation behind it is to protect your children,
Mhm.
and that's at no point did I hear, oh, I'm doing this. You mentioned your image, but the image, I think, it was less of you talking about yourself, more of you talking about your sons and how concerned for you they are,
Mhm.
and just what a caring.
Well, how concerned I am of them seeing me.
Oh,
Yeah, because I don't want them to see me in that light where I'm like taking pills to sleep or be awake and be, there for them and drinking excessively to just try and cope with like the hurt that I feel inside. I don't want them to see that. So if I can um, look a certain way to them where, oh, my mom has it together throughout all of this, she's got it together and she's really um, nothing feels like it's changing too drastically other than the relationship with my mom and dad, then I feel good about that. Because there's nothing that I can change with the situation with my ex husband. And I don't want to. Because if he being with me is not his true self, then I don't want that.
where would you say that feeling is coming from?
The feeling of what?
Wanting the best for him, even if that means not a future with you.
Um, I mean, I care for him. I love him very much. But my love is more than just face value. So if he, if he chooses this life of being gay, which is fine, that's what he chooses. But I guess I want him to be able to be himself, who he truly feels he is, not with me. He's not going to be married to somebody that wants to sleep around with men. I'm sorry.
I mean, Nadine, it sounds like you wanting the best for him, regardless of how much it's going to hurt you. That's coming from a place of love too.
Mm-hmm.
If you agree with that.
I mean, I do agree with that. And then I get mad at myself too because I feel like I'm always I'm just a doormat. Like I just allow everybody to walk all over me. I never stand up for myself or give myself a voice. And even in this situation, like I'm so caring for my ex-husband and I just want him to be happy and whatever, even though he put me through all this shit, like with sleeping with a man who is from our synagogue, whose family still doesn't know, like just these layers and layers and layers and layers. And he can't seem to see why I'm so upset and why I'm still trying to, at face value, keep it together.
Would you say that he's being ignorant to your needs?
Yeah. I mean, again, like all of that in my life have been ignorant to my needs.
And you use the term doormat to describe yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you felt like a doormat?
Probably started feeling like a doormat when I was around like 8 years old.
say what started that?
That's really difficult.
Okay.
That goes back to the demons and me feeling like there's no way out. I had a family member that I thought was there for me. They loved me and did everything for me, and they were so close. And they did things to me that I'm not proud of. When I was like 8 or 9, closer to 9. I mean, I remember it, but yeah, I was molested as a child until I was probably like 15 or 16. So I feel like when that situation or those situations would come up, I tried to share with my mom and dad, and they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't even hear me out. So I just started to feel like no one was ever going to protect me. I needed to figure out how to protect myself. And in that, I began to be a doormat because I just let people just wipe their feet on me, do whatever they needed to do to feel better.
Well, please know that I hear you and that I'm here to listen. I'm sorry that you tried to confide in people and did not get what you were looking for. If that helps at all.
It does. It's really hard to actually talk about it, to actually say it. I've kept it quiet for this long. Nobody's ever known that.
How does it feel to say it finally?
I feel really hot. I feel really hot.
Okay.
Like there's that like burning sensation in my chest. So, how does it feel to hear it?
Are you asking me? I'm glad that you feel like this is a space where you can share that. Are you looking for something specific?
No, I don't know. I felt like when I'd share it with somebody that it would be like very freeing. And it wasn't freeing. It feels more like tied down, even more.
Okay. Would you like to explore more why it feels more being tied down?
Sure. I don't know, I guess I haven't even shared like the extent of those things that have occurred. But I guess when I thought that I'd share it, I don't know, there would just be like a freeing feeling, like you just released something so big that happened to you, something that was so drastic that like molded you into the person that you are. And I don't know, I thought it would just feel a lot nicer to just get it out, talk about it, but I just feel worse.
That you made such a big step and didn't get the change that you would want to feel.
Kind of, yeah.
Would you like to try and make that happen now or not?
Okay. I think maybe I just need to like be one with myself, and really like think about what I said and how I said it. So,
When's the most recent time you felt like a doormat?
mm, probably the last time I talked to my ex-husband, when I was just trying to figure out like logistically how we're gonna like there was an incident with the kids where they needed to get to practice and I had to go and work on a case
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to see if he would be available to take care of it or if I need to get a hold of somebody else to see if there was somebody else that would be able to help us out.
Mm-hmm.
And he like gave me the runaround when I asked him if he could. And so I basically was just like, fine, whatever, I'll take care of it. Like, for once, could you please just take something off of my plate? Out of your, like, I get it, you're in your own little selfish world right now because you think that everything is lost and yada, yada, yada. Like, he literally wanted to continue our marriage after I walked in on him. He wanted me to have a marriage with him and let him do the things that he was doing on the side and be okay with it. So that right there, it's just those type of things. I just feel like a doormat where I'm like, all right, fine. And for once, I finally stood up for myself and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna live my life like this. I don't care what our community thinks about us. I don't care, like, because we're getting a divorce. Like, that's a big thing. And I don't care about those things. I'm tired of being shit on. So, sorry I went on a rant there. But the last time I felt like a doormat was when I just needed him to take care of our children, to do something for our children, which was simple, take them to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't even do that. And it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with our kids. And he wasn't even able to like set his own feelings and thoughts aside for our children.
That sounds like it must have felt beyond frustrating for you.
Extremely.
You mentioned that you fought back, kind of.
Wow. Not in that instance. I was like, whatever, I'll take care of it.
Okay.
And got off the phone with them. And then I called a friend and asked them if they could please help me. But I don't want to keep doing that. I feel that's unfair to our children. To like constantly go back and forth and like me call their dad and hey, could you do this for me? For them, it's not even for me, it's for them. So that I can continue to work for our children. And he can't even like set his own feelings aside to just take care of our children. It's not, you're not doing it for me. I don't know if it's like out of spite or if I am feeling, I don't know, spiteful.
What would it feel like for you to be spiteful, though?
If I was spiteful, I'd light him on fire. If I was spiteful, well, I don't know what being spiteful would look like because it's just not ingrained in me. Because even if it would hurt, if I was being spiteful in those instances, it would actually end up hurting our kids more than it would hurt him. If I just chose not to take them to their practice or chose not to help them or find a way for them to get to these practices or these like other things that they like to do in their lives, that's not hurting him, that's hurting them. I mean, it might be essentially hurting their relationship, but it's also hurting my relationship with them. And I'm not willing to do that. So I don't even know how I'd be spiteful. Like, I can't say that. I was gonna say put rat poisoning in his food, like as a joke.
Okay.
Only joking. I gotta kill him.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no
that.
problem. Like,
No, I really appreciate you clarifying that.
Yeah.
But again, your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
For what me saying that is worth to you.
Thank you.
I was wondering because you keep saying how you're looking out for everybody else and putting their needs ahead of yours. Who's taking care of you and who's looking after your needs, making sure they get met?
Nobody. I mean, I guess like technically you, because I'm coming here and trying to work through some things, but it's just hard. I have always been able to put my own views, feelings, and other things aside for the greater good of everybody else. It's just how I've always been. So it's really hard to get to a point where you just feel like you're crawling out of your own skin and you can't even keep your life together.
Despite all the work you've put into it?
Right. I mean, work that I put into what?
Keeping track of everybody else's needs, making sure everybody except you is
Right, except I have,
moving forward.
like, there's nobody there for me. And now I'm starting to, like, lose my mind because I've had to keep everybody's stuff together and in order and keep my life, my own life organized, mind you, but, like, always setting my feelings aside and always putting everybody else's feelings first. And how can I make their lives easier, even if it makes my life harder? I've never, like, now I just feel like I'm spinning out of control. Like I can't keep doing that, but I don't know how to stop.
What would it feel like to stop though?
I don't know. It's not like I have. It's not like I have somebody, unlike you, like not you, but somebody in my life where I can go to and be like, these things are going on, and this is what my life is like, and here's all my shit, and I'll take it and like help me figure it out. I don't have that, so I don't know, and I'm used to being that person where I take everybody else's stuff on and take care of it. So I think I'd be even more out of control if I didn't have that.
Okay. I'm wondering, and you might have already said this, do you have any social outlets whatsoever outside of the temple?
I didn't. My whole life was formed around that community. Everything that I did outside of that was with people from
Okay.
our synagogue.
So those people are everything.
Yeah.
It's your whole spectrum of your current life is wrapped up in that. How would it feel, hypothetically, to have someone or people that were not part of your temple?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't share a lot with people at work, obviously, because I feel like there is a professionalism that I need to uphold at my work. So I'm certainly not sharing like personal things. I mean, everybody knows I'm going through a divorce. They don't know why. They're there for me. They say they're there for me, but to me, I'm not even opening that gate of conversation because of the standards that I uphold during my work. Me being Jewish is my life. Me being proud of being Jewish and having that community has always been my life. So it's hard for me to go out and have other people who just, have different backgrounds and maybe don't understand the lifestyle that we have in my community.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just don't even know where to begin. And I'm just not quite there yet, honestly. I feel like that would just add more to my plate, and then I'd be again like meeting these people that might have nothing to do with temple or my community, and I'd still be like taking on their stuff and not worrying about my own because that's easy for me.
Oh, by easy, like it, you feel like that's almost how you're designed?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What? It sounds like that rigidity must be frustrating. And I don't mean that from a place of judgment at all. I mean that from a place of it must be frustrating to be you sometimes. That makes sense.
I mean, I don't want to say that it's all bad taking on other people's stuff because sometimes it can be quite gratifying. I mean, I chose the line of work that I chose to help people. So it is obviously something that's ingrained within me. I mean, I've learned a lot, like from my grandparents, for instance, who are Holocaust survivors. I've learned a lot on like how important our community is and how to help other people. So I almost feel like if I were to go against that, it'd be going against my whole heritage and everything that I was taught in my own culture and belief systems. And I'm meant to like be there to help people to get through the hard times. Um, that's what I was taught. So I think that's why um, for you to like, and this is nothing like against what you brought up. I think it's a great idea to like have other people outside of my community, but like I'm also very entrenched in my community because of bigger things.
And thank you for sharing with me the history about your grandparents being Holocaust survivors. It gives me a little more, it broadens my worldview in terms of understanding like beneath all what you described as this pressure to maintain an image and just how stressful that sounds. There are these values of togetherness and getting through hard times by relying on others.
And if you rely on others, you tend to, at least for me, you tend to not get back the same thing that you give. Like I need to rely on myself, and that's that, in a sense. But then I also need to rely on my community. But relying on people outside of my community, that's very foreign thinking for me. Like you were saying about like going out and meeting people outside of my community that I have is very foreign because most of these people that are within my community understand what it's like to have that type of trauma in their family and what's like ingrained in us.
That despite all the barriers that might come with it, you still see yourself in those people. What does it feel like for you to just have the pros and cons just laid out like that?
It's not things that I don't already know, but it almost feels like putting it out there. It feels like I'm turning my back on everything that I believe in. I shouldn't speak to somebody about the cons of being in my community. I should only speak of the pros. So it's really difficult for me. Like I feel like I'm not being respectful to my own culture.
You touched on this a bit, but doing it right now, what does it feel like?
Like I'm turning my back on them because I need to take care of myself.
So I'm just going to unpack that a bit. To me, what you just said, it sounds like for once, it seems like in a very long time, you're putting yourself first.
Try.
Yeah.
There's a battle.
Yeah. But the effort's being made.
Attempting. Attempting.
Which, I mean, just even taking that step, I think is admirable, just considering how hard it is, as you just described. What does it feel like to hear that?
I don't know. I want to say that it feels good, but there's just like, that battle that I keep explaining to you inside me where everything's just like, feels like things are shifting and I don't know if they're good or they're bad. So it's a little nerve wracking to hear uh, something positive come from someone towards me.
Because of the lack, sort of because of the unintelligibility in what you're describing?
What do you mean by that?
You said that you're not sure if certain feelings are good or bad.
Well, we're talking about like the pros and cons of me sharing, like my culture, and so what I'm saying is it's like hard for me to be able to, I don't know, it's just hard for me to like take what you say as the things that I'm sharing and me like almost putting myself first, being okay with that, and then hearing that it's admirable. It kind of like leaves me with a feeling of, oh my God, am I doing the right thing by sharing all of this? Or trying to like put forth effort to becoming like more, I guess it's not self-awareness, it's just like trying to take care of self versus everybody else and how that makes me feel.
Okay. I want you to know that everything you're feeling right now is valid. And that it must sound scary to not know whether you're doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And that feels very strange because although I've never put myself first, I've always felt I was doing the right thing for others by taking on everything for them.
Are you saying that doesn't feel like the right thing to do anymore?
No, I'm not saying that per se, but I'm trying to find like that balance between taking care of myself and taking care of others. I feel like I'm so broken down at this point that I need to find that balance. Even like the balance of just sharing things. I can't hold on to these things that I've kept since I was a little girl. It like enrages me and makes me a completely different person. Excuse me.
What do you mean by makes you a different person?
Because for so long I just like kept those secrets in the closet, right? The molestation. Um, uh, that's like the biggest thing. Just all of those like little things that have occurred in my life that have made me who I am today. I don't know. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Just like feel like I have shared a lot. I'm feeling very lost.
What does it mean to feel lost?
It's like I'm letting somebody, yeah, yeah. It's like I'm letting somebody else drive the car. Like I'm so out of control that I need somebody else to take over and drive. I've always been the driver in my own life. While yes, I have everybody else in the back and I'm driving the car and keeping them safe. Do you know what I mean? And now there's nobody there and I need a driver.
Okay.
And I'm like just lost in my own thoughts because sharing all that stuff, like bringing all that stuff up, it's really hurtful to hear me say it. I haven't, my uncle was the one that molested me. My dad's brother. He's younger than my dad. And he used to be my favorite. Now I look back on things and um, I think, wow, he was like really setting me up, understanding what it's like to like be around a predator. Um, but he used to, take care of my brother and I and give us baths. Like my parents would go out and he would be like the cool uncle that would like let us stay up late and watch things that we shouldn't be allowed to watch or listen to music that we're not supposed to listen to as kids. And he was the fun uncle. And then that relationship was just crushed. And I feel like every relationship that I have been in since then has been just like that.
Making you feel a certain way, what sounds like a very uplifting way, only to have it come crashing.
Mhm.
What does it feel like to say that?
Odd. It was almost like I had an epiphany while saying it. And like a light bulb went off, like, oh wow, like you were so close to your uncle when you were younger, and then he took that innocence away from you. He took that innocence from me. He molested me, and then continued to do so until I was 15, without ever getting caught or, excuse me, he always got away with it. And then he finally just stopped. I don't know why. And that even was like a sense of loss for me. And then skip to meeting my husband, um, and meeting him and falling in love with him and like actually trusting in a man, giving him 20 years of my life, and bam, walking in on him, fucking some other dude that I know. And even like, scratch that, will even go to like my father's relationship with me. He was never really great. He always held us to like very high standards, but never appeasing him. Never once did he say, I'm proud of you or congratulations, like you've really done it. You've really outdone yourself. You went to this very esteemed school and, ranked top in your class. You're a very good lawyer. You do all of these things, and yet I can't get anything from, like, I've never gotten anything back from anybody. And I don't need like a pat on my back. Do you know what I mean? But I guess maybe to hear like, I'm proud of you, or I'm sorry I took your innocence away from you, or I'm sorry I ruined our relationship of 20 years. And now I've also ruined like the understanding of marriage to my own children. And not only did he ruin our marriage, but he also ruined my relationship with a community that I have been so close to. It's like I'm just losing my entire identity and then finding it all in the same manner.
please know that I appreciate you sharing all this with me, and that I hope that you sharing this is helpful to you in some way.
It's just a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I feel a little lighter,
Okay.
but it's a lot. It's a lot to like play out and just talk through.
What do you feel? What comes to mind when you hear the term self-love?
Do I have any? Sorry. It's true. Self-love in what context? Like, do I have self-love? Or do I know how to have self-love? In what way?
What does it feel like to just have that term brought up?
It's very unfamiliar.
Because it's just what I keep hearing is you keep giving and giving to others. I mean, you not getting it from anybody else is a colossal disappointment, and I'm sorry that people take you for granted so much.
Thank you.
And it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to rely on ourselves to take care of us. That the person who's going to make us feel what we're actually worth is ourselves. And yes, it's sad sometimes to have that somber realization, but maybe sometimes that's just life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to be the one who's going to make yourself feel good. That like you need to look at all your accomplishments and everything that you've done in your life and just be like, wow, I did that.
But then I question, coming from a culture that's built on community, that's built on being together, and why have I always felt like I've been standing outside of the community and doing everything for everybody else, but I'm not in the community. I'm in the community, but I mean, in that aspect, like I'm proud of everybody else, right? For all of their accomplishments, anything that they do, I am always there. But where does Elizabeth stand? So I understand the being proud of my accomplishments, but I suppose that's not a thought process that I'm willing to work with yet.
Okay.
Because I come from such a strong community. And then I look at every example I just gave you and I go, well, where was my community for me? They weren't really there. I guess maybe some of that's my fault for not sharing with them.
Okay.
But when I did, like even just with my parents try and share, it was just a complete and utter failure and just a letdown. And that never happened. So then I just closed off and I never shared that situation again until this very moment. And then I'm obviously not sharing the situation with my husband, with everybody. I'm sharing this with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, where is my community? Or is it my fault that my community is not there for me because I'm not sharing?
It's because you don't feel comfortable sharing. That's why.
Okay. Maybe.
Okay.
Boom.
Sorry.
People person.